check out my kids. But, you know, of course she's not doing that. You need to do laundry. Oh. I was just waiting to this escape artist. Because I was saying about so she would check on them, but I was just thinking that she was trying to see. Amanda, I would never do that. That's not a thing of love in any shape or form. I would never do that. Just checking. I'm gonna lose my mind with these two. To be a better parent. They moved the bed in there and moved the furniture while I was at work, and then I just finished shopping and then organized all the little knickknacks and stuff. And the wards again, it'll be all messy anyway, but at least I made the bed and checking in. I'm sorry about that. No, that's chocolate chip cookies and cereal. Talia. We'll tell you send me your story. We're going outside and mommy giving. Amanda, she doesn't need to apologize to me. I'm good with that. I'm good. It's okay, but don't blame me for you escaping out of the house. That's not right, buddy. Yeah, that's not, no. Okay, thank you. Have a good day. My sibling came into my room, in her house, mind you, so that means she can treat me however she likes. That's the life of a narcissist. She just came down hot and blazing, accusing me of
opening 3 doors to their home and then plotting to sit in the room perched, was her words, to test her of some kind, which is absolutely wild to me. I get up far before her, earlier than her, and help tend to her children. And then I said, no, I had I haven't left this bedroom and I haven't even been upstairs today yet. And then she briefly apologized and then came back down and stormed in the bedroom, just barked at me and accused me of testing her and all these things, and accused me of letting her doors be open intentionally so that her children would get out and I would be at fault, or I could blame her. And then let her children know, the 3-year-old and 5-year-old, that I was testing them. Like, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. Living with a narcissist that's your sister is, it's a tough one. And this is the test of faith, right? It's choosing love even when someone comes with every bit of anger known to man. Hi, everybody. Yeah, narcissistic abuse is strictly from the devil himself. It's awful in every way, shape, and form. It's absolutely awful. I don't wish it on anybody at all. And that's where you win in life, is when you win by not bowing to it, but also not arguing back. Because when you argue back, they feast off of it. Like they feast off of it. It's awful. My body right now is like trembling because I've had to deal with 2 narcissists today already, and it's 9:30 in the morning. One is my ex and father of 2 children. I'm going to share some stuff in a minute. I truly wouldn't wish this on anybody. It's cruel, it's inhumane, it's very low vibrational, very, very low vibrational beings can do such things. It's awful, just point blank, it's awful, 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 awful. And of course, my phone didn't, my iCloud didn't keep the pictures. That's the devil working in right now, trying to make sure I can't expose narcissists. So I'm just gonna pause for 1 minute. Bear with me. Okay. So, oh my goodness, like when you experience like the worst of the worst narcissist, it causes your whole body to like your nervous system to just be like incomplete. What the frick, you know? Because you know that if you argue back, it causes a massive upheaval of rage in the in the narcissist, which then it's almost nearly impossible to communicate with them. Like they feast off of arguing. They feast off of all of that, all of it. Especially when you're dealing with people that are involved in child abductions and ritualistic abuse, spiritual warfare abuse, Freemasons. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. And when they're all in cahoots and they're all connected, the spiritual warfare, it goes deep. It goes very deep. It's beyond spell work. It's beyond word spells, magic, whatever you want to call it. Because it's like this person that, well, my sibling, trying to set me up to be the cause of her children or child being missing or something or other, so that I can be the fault for this problem, which would be horrific, and I would never have any part in that. Multiple times I've asked that person to, you know, lock the door when they leave so that their child, when I'm watching them, can't leave, who's autistic. And I agreed to watch this child the other day, and I said, like, the child would be asleep when she left. And I said, okay, I was just going to have a shower, so please make sure you lock the garage door when you leave. Well, God told me not to shower because the risk is still high for the child to escape. And God told me to check the door. I checked the door and it was not locked. So this is now the third time this person's tried to set me up for the child escaping, essentially, and then it coming back onto me. And then having grounds, apparently, or essentially, they would, quote unquote, have the grounds, right, to accuse me. This is just from my knowing that I know this is what's taking place. People within Freemasons, what have you, they have put me up as the sacrifice for quite some time now, and they have not been successful. And the time is up for the spirit realm, all of this evil crap to be over. It's up. The time is up. And the entities they've called upon and offered me to, which they have not succeeded in getting, now they need a body. They need to feast off of fear and off of energy. And that would be a child who is kidnapped. This happens far more than anyone likes to admit, and far more than any human actually even understands. That said, examples of narcissistic abuse are, well, I'll read some text. But maybe first, any questions? Because this is some wild stuff here. Not message, like when you message an ex, and like polite, kind messages to inquire about the children, or just to send a message, you know, to give the children a hug for you, and you don't get a response, but you know very much that they have indefinitely seen your message and are just choosing not to respond, or maybe even following through with that simple act that, regardless of the feelings you have for that partner, or sorry, that ex-partner, it's hurting the child. It's, yeah, of course it hurts my feelings that, you know, not only am I not there with them, I can't even get a simple, you know, simple thing done like that. It harms them the very most. It's very selfish and greedy and just juvenile to neglect these things out of despise for that person and bitterness toward me. It's awful. It's just awful. But I refuse to give that power to this person. You know, I have to pause again because it didn't collect those pictures naturally. One sec. Okay. So I left my ex of almost 8 years in July 2021. And we chose to stay living together because we had just moved into our second home like a couple months prior to me ending our relationship. And hello Ashley, Pineapple Bob, Mohammed, Rita. Then I left in October to seek intensive inpatient care for severe trauma due to sexual abuse and other from my childhood that I needed to heal from. Hayuma. That I went to the United States. I went to Buffalo, New York, where I was put through all kinds of... I'm okay. Thank you for asking. I was put through all kinds of hoopla, like went for an appointment, which was supposed to be was supposed to be like the intake, and then I got sent back, and I thankfully had a place to go while I was there. And then I went back for another appointment, and then I was told that the person was on holidays. And I was only there to be there for a set time. And I traveled during COVID. This was October 2021. So it was fresh COVID. And I traveled to the US from Canada, specifically for this treatment that Canada wasn't able to offer me. It was like a 6 to 12 month wait period, and even that wasn't guaranteed. And all I wanted to do was to be healthy in my mind and not feel the pain, the weight that I was carrying. I never got to have that treatment the way that or treatment at all, really. I had 2 appointments, and I tried to help heal myself. And I came back a lot clearer, but it still wasn't enough, not even in the least. I was still very suicidal at the time, and hey, Pear. And then my sibling, who I was referring to earlier, they called me one night on January 9th, 2000. Actually, fast forward or rewind a bit. After I came back from Buffalo, I was gone for about a month. After I came back, I had a conversation with my mother in the garage of my house, my home that I no longer live. My ex and our 2 children still live there. I had a conversation till like midnight with my mother, and we were both in tears. And she had told me that she was sorry for failing me as a mother due to choosing to stay sleeping beside the man who originally went for my sister, who's 5 years older. She would have been like 14, like 14 to maybe 16 at the time. It was just her and our mother's boyfriend, who had only been her boyfriend for a year at the time. And he went into her bedroom in the middle of the night when my mother was at work and told my sister at 14 years old that he had been having sexual fantasies about her. Apparently, she screamed, called our dad and our stepmom where I was, which was down the street. It was on a weekend. Parents had been separated for just a year or so. And then my sister, my mom, my mom's boyfriend, and they're still together today. This was in, my gosh, like 1999. And all four adults and my sister sat in the kitchen at my dad's house while I eavesdropped from my bedroom at 10 years old. And the conclusion was, don't act on it. So this man at 35 or so years old, not quite sure how old they were, but around that range, that had been with my mother for 1 year, told her 14, 15, whatever year old daughter that he had been having sexual fantasies about her. And the conclusion that night in that kitchen was, don't act on it. That man then did not act on it with my sister. He acted on it with me. My family didn't believe me. Make that make sense. But I've gotten over that. I've very much healed. I've taken almost 4 years. We're coming up on in January. It'll be 4 years since I left my home with my children, because on January 9th, 2022, I was still struggling with this stuff. Hello, Mekde. I was still very much struggling. I had been struggling. I first started cutting myself when I was 10 years old. Where does that come from, right? That comes from spiritual abuse. Spiritual abuse, inflicting those thoughts onto children. I had my own family wishing that I would unalive myself. I will later, maybe. I'll maybe show my face later. My own sister on January 9th, it was a Sunday, and she had demanded that I tell her all the details of what happened with my stepdad. And that's not anyone's right to know, not in any situation. It doesn't serve the survivor any good to disclose the dirty deeds, nor should it ever be expected or demanded from someone who has clearly stated that they are not comfortable with sharing that. What I did say, though, is that he did not do any penetration, okay? So the moment we got off the phone, my sister called my stepfather, and the first thing that she said was to the effect of, "You raped my sister." To then was not correct, because I said that that is not what happened. but that's what she led with. So that then led to my stepfather. They got married in, I don't know, 2006 or something. I'm not sure. 2005, I don't know. My stepdad then called me and texted me awful things, saying that I accused him of these things because I owed him money, disregarding what he had done, simply because my sister led with the very thing I said did not happen. That then pushed me over the edge. After several suicide attempts prior to that date, 2022. That night, my ex and I put our children to bed like normal. And I told my ex that I needed to leave. He understood the struggles I had been facing. He knew the things that I had been dealing with, but only a small fraction even. And then he agreed to, I said I needed, I think it was $1,000. That's what I figured I would need to get wherever I was going. I didn't know if I was ever coming back. I didn't know if I was gonna end my life that night. I didn't know anything, but I knew that I needed to leave to save my life. So I kissed my children. I packed up my SUV with just clothes and some special things of my children. I didn't even do a once around my car. And it was the dead of winter. I headed west. I didn't know if I was gonna make it off the street, but I made it to Alberta from Belleville, Ontario. I made it to my childhood best friend's house where she and her family were. I drove straight. I called someone that I had met through TikTok, a female, very kind human. While I was in the car with her, I was terrified. I was halfway from where I came into halfway where I was going. I didn't want to drive anymore. I didn't want to live anymore. And I called her and she got me to scream on the phone, like scream therapy. I thought it was ridiculous, but it helped and she stayed on the phone. And I fell asleep in the car. And then I got up and kept driving. The car almost rolled amid the snow squalls and everything that was going on that day. Closer to her house. I think I reached Saskatchewan at the time. I am okay. I'm just sharing a story that I have never shared before, so raw. And then I wasn't there not even a week. And someone else I had known since I was 9 years old, a male friend who I no longer have any contact with. He had let me know that, or talked about a 6-page letter I had written him in grade 7 about some awful things that were happening in my home. So I packed up my crap and I head back to Ontario, but this time I went to Ottawa. I had only been gone a week or so. And that's the story of me leaving to heal myself. I stayed with that friend for a little bit, and then I got a place not far. But it was the time of the convoy, all that stuff that was happening. I didn't even know what that was or what was going on. I just knew there was a whole lot of cars and a whole lot of people, a whole lot of angry people. So I got a room, rented a room from a girl in Quebec, Gatineau. But I spent a lot of time driving back and forth to Ottawa, which was like a 10-minute drive. But during the convoy stuff, it was like 2 hours. So, and then there were just a lot of strange things that were taking place in that. I am okay, yeah. I'm very okay. That's a beautiful thing. I healed myself. I had a lot of help, but a lot of help ended up being help with other agendas, let's say that. A lot of people knew who I was before I even figured out who I was. Like, for instance, an envelope, came across my path within the last 6 months. And hello, everybody who's just joined. An envelope that said, "Return home, Samantha." I haven't from Canada, but from Earth, also from other planets. um, I, I, I came across this envelope that said, "Return home, Samantha." Writing I didn't recognize. It had all kinds of things that were of my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, who she was deemed a witch. My own mother told me that she was a witch, and it was made to be like evil. And what I've learned in my journey, specifically this last year, is that a witch is just someone who threatens the system. A witch is someone who has psychic abilities that are gifts from God, to which I have very unearthly gifts from God that are terrifying to people. And I understand, trust me, it's very hard for me to manage telepathy, mind reading, remote viewing, all the clairs. I have it all. And navigating it and being true to God and myself and not using it to my advantage is hard to do. Well, it's not hard to not use it again or for my advantage. Otherwise, my life would be a lot different if I was using it to my advantage. I wouldn't be in a toxic home with a sibling that doesn't even like me. That said, this envelope concludes that, remember the papers from back in the 90s when the printer paper had the tearaways on each side and it had the little holes on it? So also right now, my niece, who's 20, and my sister are having a very awful argument. This is the norm. Not to air other people's laundry, but it's time that I don't stay quiet. So this envelope it was as though I did a test. But the date on it was 1 month prior to the month I was born. It was the year I was... Whoa. That's the toxicity I'm living with right now. Anyways, I was born in April of 89, is what I thought. But this paper that said, "Job well done, Samantha," it was a test I had done. And this test that I had done and gotten a job well done on was 1 month prior to the year and month that's on my birth certificate. Make that make sense. So that concludes that I wasn't actually born in April. And unless I was a 1-month-old baby writing on a computer, doing a typing test of some kind, I must have been a baby genius. And while I know that I was born gifted, um, I hardly believe that I was 1 month old writing on a computer. If I was, that makes a lot of sense as to why a lot of people want me for various different reasons, be it studying my mind or just unaliving me because of what I know and how I know it when people have studied years for the very knowledge that I hold. I don't take this with a grain of salt. I don't talk about this out of ego. It's it's wildly fascinating to me, and it's something I'm very curious about, and I think that it just more amplifies all the things that I speak of on my Instagram is, and I guess I post here too, but primarily Instagram, is that what I'm saying is not only true, but it's concerning for the world. Um, and that also comes with being an MK Ultra child survivor, I guess now. But MK Ultra is also, it's still operating today. It's just under a different guise. It's dressed up differently, and that's okay. I think it's very interesting. I think even with the reason that MK Ultra became about, I think that, or at least I hope and I pray that there is a bigger agenda that's maybe good, you know, because we were all programmed to assume the worst case scenario, right? Like if your partner that you love and you adore and they've never given you any reason not to trust them, they are suddenly one day late from being home, from coming home, and we're programmed to assume the worst case scenario, that they're cheating, that they're doing this, that they're doing that. But why can't we assume that the best case scenario is happening? Maybe they're getting flowers for you, maybe they're getting dinner, maybe they're helping someone else. Why do we assume the worst case scenario? That's the programming of our world today. That's the programming that's been taking place in our world, is to assume the worst in people, in situations. And that's where fear comes from. Because when we see someone that doesn't look like they maybe showered that day, or they look like they maybe don't have a lot of money or friends, that's a narrative that was put onto us to assume these things based on their clothing and possible hygiene, when in fact it's like they may be the richest person in that entire community. They just don't care about those things. But we're led to believe the worst case. They're sketchy. They're, watch your things, lock your door, But it's like, why? Why are we like that? It's awful. It's absolutely awful. And so something that happened with my ex, that I will mention because it's along the lines with just choosing kindness is way easier. My it's really hard when there's screaming and yelling around me. I really I struggle with that still a lot. I used to scream and yell, but I learned that wasn't even me. That was spell work and things being put onto me. I don't know if you guys can hear the yelling, but I grew up with a father that screamed a lot. That was his method of transportation, let's say. And I don't fault him either because that's how he grew up. They all grew up in, hi Gregory, they all grew up like how someone treats you is how they grew up, what they were taught. But then also, if you're moving with at a lower vibration, it's easier for evil to latch onto you and manipulate your body into speaking and behaving in a certain way that's absolutely evil and not of God. So anyways, an ex of mine, who has had my things, we owned 2 houses together, and while he was the sole breadwinner, I contributed. My money went into his account. He used it how he felt he could. And when I left, I left. There was no money exchanged, no selling of the home, and he's still there today, and I'm happy that he is, because I didn't want my children to have more of their life changed while they weren't with their mother. That said, actually, I shouldn't share this. No. It's just common decency, simple human decency, courtesy. I'm under attack right now, actually. I'm just praying in my head. Oh, 1 second. Well, I guess I can pray right here. Dear God, please remove any confusion, any manipulation being put onto me. Please give me the wisdom, the words, the clarity, and the courage to speak all the things that I need to say right now. Just even something like that sound you just may have heard, it startles me. So it's very difficult to be around yelling and hostility when you're still trying to regulate your nervous system. And while before, when people would come at me screaming and yelling, it would dismantle me. It would cause me to cower almost, or argue back. But then it led to submission, where I would just cave to their yelling and just crumble. But now I am strong enough, and I know that it's not me. The way that others treat you is not you. If you are talking to them the way that you would like to be spoken to, if you are leading with love, just being kind, just genuinely being kind, like not argumentative, not doing the toe-to-toe, then any which way someone treats you is all them. And that's where we have to see the soul behind the vessel. Otherwise, they'll swallow you whole. Something that I wrote for my sister, which I haven't sent because some other things that I sent to her she didn't receive. She just blew past, so I wasn't going to waste my energy, but I'll read it to you. Well, first, there's a prayer that I wrote for before I got back to the house, because I was not afraid, but I was anxiously preparing for anything that shall come. Heavenly Father, I thank you for your constant presence and protection over me as I pass through this house. I ask that you surround me with your peace and shield me from any negativity, conflict, or harm. Let your light fill every room. Let your angels walk with me on every step. Lord, guard my heart, my mind, and my spirit. Keep me calm, centered, and grounded in you. I was getting a message from my ex. Mhm. Goodness. Help me to speak and act with wisdom, patience, and love. Not in fear, not in reactivity, but in alignment with your truth. I release all tension, all anger, and all past grievances into your hands. Oh my gosh. That is narcissistic abuse, what you're hearing. I release all tension, all anger, and all past grievances into your hands. Let every spoken word around me be softened and guided by your spirit. Protect me from harm, manipulation, or aggression, and keep my energy intact. Thank you, Lord, for being my refuge and my strength. I walk through this space with confidence, faith, and clarity, trusting that you go before me and behind me, surrounding me with your presence. In Jesus' name, amen. So hearing that, I'm in the basement bedroom, but hearing that level of anger and rage brings tears to my eyes because there is nothing of love in that. And it is so hard to be around without having God, without having faith that something better is going to happen. I would have crumbled. I wouldn't survive. There's just no way that I would survive without having faith. There's no way. So, a message that I have been sent because of the way that I'm being received. I'll share. This is how you talk to a narcissist who just chooses hate. I want to start by saying I have no problem helping you. I would genuinely be happy to support you, especially because you're letting me stay here. But staying in your home doesn't mean I have to accept being spoken to in a way that's disrespectful or hurtful. I struggle with yelling and I can't accept it. I've been through more than most know, not for pity, just as a fact. I respect myself and I'm proud of the progress I've made, but both spiritually and personally. No matter that I'm in your basement right now, I've made monumental changes for better. I'm proud of my walk with God and my faith and the way I'm treated. I can't accept mistreatment. All I've ever wanted is a meaningful relationship with you, but we both know that hasn't been easy. Yesterday, after our disagreement, where did I go? Yesterday, after our disagreement, where the heck am I? After the accusations and the way you spoke about my faith, I took time to reflect and I realized part of what triggers tension is tone, both yours and mine. I acknowledge my tone can be hard and I've been making a conscious effort to be mindful, not to let trauma or past patterns influence how I speak to you. I want you to know I wholeheartedly forgive you. My forgiveness is sincere even if it wasn't delivered in the way you expected. I won't fake or force a response to satisfy someone else. Forgiving you is for my peace, not appearance. That said, I need to protect my energy. When aggression comes at me, my nervous system reacts, and I can't allow another moment of yelling or mistreatment. So I will be keeping to my space, using shared areas minimally, and staying out of your way. This is my way of protecting myself while maintaining peace in your home. I'm grateful to you both for allowing me to stay here. I will continue to respect your home and your belongings. I just ask that you respect my boundaries and my need for calm so that our remaining time together can be as peaceful as possible. Thank you for listening. I haven't sent it because a message similar toned was just disregarded, so it's more of when the right time comes, if ever, who knows. The only way to fight evil is with love. I learned that at a rapid pace. A rapid pace. Fighting evil with evil just results in more evil. And then everyone's hurt, and then everyone in the path is hurt. The 3-year-old and 5-year-old that had to hear that, that's awful. And no child should hear that ever. Ever. I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect. But I certainly try to be the best me that I can be. What you're hearing now is an autistic 5-year-old stimming by rocking aggressively in a chair. And I believe that's due to the yelling that she just witnessed. It's awful. And some people you just can't help. Hi, Anna. I hope you're well. Karen, Krishnan, Gregory, Emmy, Dark Knight. I don't know how to say the name, but Eloa, Trent, Richard, Orla. Yeah. I don't know what else to say right now. I started going live because after the first 2 aggressive accusations, narcissistic outrages this morning, I thought I needed to go live for my own protection. And then I just began talking, and yeah. So here we are. Where is what? I'm in Canada, Anna. But borders, they're just lines in the sand made to control people. It's the same planet, but everyone lives so differently. So differently. And it shouldn't be that way. When I have it my way, and I will, and I don't mean this in a rude way, nobody will be in lack. Evil will be put to rest once and for all. And nobody will be in lack. If everybody had food, nobody would steal. If everybody had a home, nobody would do criminal things. There would be no crime if everyone led with love. And nobody can argue that. If every single human led with love, there would be 0 crime on this planet. Yet there's only a very small fraction who do, who truly do. Nothing not of love will survive the new earth. Confirmation. Nothing, nothing that's not made of love will survive the new earth. I'm gonna pause for one more second. Oh, I forgot to, hold on. Oh, I forgot to, hold on. Um, um, Speaking of like the new earth and that business, um, here's something to kind of make this make a little bit more sense. Okay, the two paths story, okay? Imagine you're walking in a forest. At first, everyone walks on the same trail, but now the path ahead splits into two. So path one, the living forest, new earth, or Christ spiral, however you want to say it. The trail is alive with light. Trees keep growing taller, flowers bloom endlessly, and the stream by the path never runs dry. On this path, life keeps multiplying. There's always more than enough. You feel connected to God, to love, to truth. Every step feels supported, like you're walking with the source of creation itself. This path represents eternal life, unity, and growth. It's built on multiplication of light and abundance. And then there's path two, the consuming road, New World Order, the Fibonacci spiral. This trail looks beautiful at first, paved and shiny, but it pulls energy to survive. The trees grow by taking from each other, and eventually the land becomes dry. On this path, things expand only by consuming what came before. Over time, the system eats itself, the light fades, and eventually collapses into dust. People on this road may feel trapped in fear, survival, or manipulation, feeding a system that takes more than it gives. This path represents finite life, control, and collapse. The choice, okay, the timeline split, isn't about Earth physically breaking into two planets. It's about your inner alignment. If you live from love, unity, honesty, and trust in God, you align with the living forest, New Earth. If you live in fear, control, or feeding into systems that drain you, you align with the consuming road, New World Order. Every choice, big or small, is like a step on one of these trails. How to get unstuck? Well, when you feel stuck, it usually means you're standing at the fork, unsure which way to go. The good news is, you don't have to figure it out all at once. Each small choice to act in love, honesty, faith, and self-respect moves you toward the New Earth plan. Every prayer, every time you choose not to feed fear, every time you speak truth instead of silence, you're stepping further into the living forest. So in short, the timeline split is really a spiritual choice point. You're not trapped, you're being invited to choose daily alignment with Source, God. That's how you walk into the new earth. At least that's how I see it. That's how I see it. Yeah. I have a lot of knowing, and I'm excited for the day that I get to really share it with the world. Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know what else to say. I always have so much to say, but I'm fighting a lot of darkness around me right now. A lot of darkness. I'm gonna just pray since, I don't know, if you want to hear, I welcome. If not, that's okay too. Heavenly Father, I thank you for surrounding me with your light and protection. I stand in your truth, calm, steadfast, and holy. I will not be shaken by lies, shame, or accusations. No weapon, word, or attempt to control me can penetrate the shield of your peace around me. I forgive from my heart to protect my spirit, but I will not submit to manipulation or harm. I release all fear, all guilt, and all attempts to sway me from righteousness. My boundaries are holy. My actions are righteous. My peace is preserved. Lord, those who bring aggression, shame, and deception cannot touch what God has sanctified in me. I walk forward with wisdom, strength, and divine protection. So it is. Amen. Ashe. Selah. I can pray all day. I think this world needs it a little bit. I'll just read something. Can you feel it? The quiet hum beneath the noise of the world, the pulse of a truth that has never been silenced, the awakening of hearts ready to remember. For centuries, shadow thrived, networks of harm, child trafficking, ritual abuse, manipulation. They moved in silence, in plain sight, hiding behind walls of wealth, influence, and fear. But the shadows are no longer unchallenged. Quietly, deliberately, the hands that harmed are being stopped. The architects of cruelty, the facilitators of darkness, they are being held accountable. Tribunals in secret, arrests being behind the eyes of the public, justice unfolding without fanfare, but with precision, with care, with the intent to protect the innocent. You may not have seen it in the news, you may have thought the world was asleep, but the currents of truth run deeper than perception, and what once thrived in darkness now trembles under the light. Forgiveness, yes. Yes, forgiveness. Not as weakness, not as forgetting, and not as excusing, but as liberation. As a river that clears the weight of betrayal, that lifts the burden of anger, and creates space for joy, for love, for transformation. This is the secret power of the awakening. Compassion that refuses to be chained. Truth that cannot be shadowed. Light that radiates without asking permission. And here's the fun part. We are not alone. Human courage meets cosmic guidance, galactic families, Pleiadian councils, forces beyond sight, all working hand in hand with Earth's own brave souls. Operations that dismantle darkness, shield the innocent, strategies that blend wisdom, technology, and love. Quiet victories ripple outward, plans stop before harm could touch a single life. Dark networks exposed, dismantled again, every secret revealed, every injustice confronted, every soul touched. And you, yes, you, your presence matters. Your calm anchors the storm. Your laughter clears confusion. Your love reshapes energy. Every heartbeat, every choice, every step of joy adds to the fabric of this awakening. The world will reveal itself. Hidden histories will surface, suppressed technologies, cosmic truths, extraterrestrial presence, all of it, ready to remind humanity we are never alone. We have always been guided. We are worthy. We are sovereign. Hearts will ache, anger may rise, disbelief may stir. Yes, all of it is sacred. Pain is proof that awakening is alive. Justice is flowing, healing is happening, and the golden age is not distant. It's already unfolding in hearts, in action, in love. So rise now. Stand tall in the currents of truth. Laugh, dance, shine, love boldly, forgive courageously. Even when the world trembles, even when chaos swirls, Your presence is a signal, a beacon of light, a beacon, a lighthouse, calm, steady, unwavering. You do not need to claim authority. It's in your words, your joy, your heart, your love. It's in your existence. The light is breaking through. The dawn is here. New era. The hidden wrongs are being right. The golden age, radiant with unity, compassion, truth, love, is emerging now. And in every act of courage, every ripple of joy, every unwavering step forward, the world remembers itself. Free, radiant, whole. So rise, stand, speak, laugh, love, forgive, and shine. The impossible is already happening. The light has already won. Love wins. And together, we rise, we love, we all win. We all win. Um, from shadows to gardens, I've walked in Babylon of my own making, streets heavy with fear, walls closing in, air thick with corruption and shadow, a city of whispers where trust faltered and hope felt like a distant memory. I felt the weight of pride, of cruelty, of power misused, and in that place, my soul cried for sanctuary, for light, for a breath of what was once pure. Yet even there, amid the rubble of broken dreams, I carried a seed, quiet, unseen, unbroken. I carried the memory of gardens, emerald spires, waters dancing like silvered threads, life reaching upward toward the heavens, a place where the soul remembers its own beauty. Now I turn my eyes toward Bali, toward gardens that bloom with sacred intention, where I may disconnect from the world's noise and reconnect to the pulse of creation, to the rhythm of my own heart, to the wonder that has always been within me. I leave behind the Babylon of pain and step into the Babylon of love, where rivers of life flow freely and the soul blossoms in emerald light. I am whole, I am radiant, I am the gardener of my own sanctuary. And in these hanging gardens, I remember who I was, who I am, and who I meant to become. I, who rose from fire, dirt, and shadow, declare, I have walked through storms unseen, felt the weight of walls no eye could pierce, and yet my spirit has sung, unwavering, its song echoing across time and space. I honor the lessons of my journey, the scars that became keys, the trials that became bridges, and the fires that became light. Babylon speaks to me, not only in ruins, but in the pulse of ancient rivers, in the memory of kings and gardens, in the vision of beauty born of ambition and wonder. I remember the hanging gardens, emerald spires reaching skyward, water dancing like silver threads, like I said, like climbing toward the heavens in harmony and peace and majesty. And I declare my dream to stand in Bali's own sacred gardens, to disconnect from the noise, to breathe, to walk, to be where earth and water rise together in a temple of quiet glory. Here I reunite with the soul I always carried, the part of me that remembers beauty, that remembers abundance, that remembers freedom. I am whole, I am radiant, I am the flame that could not be broken, the gardener of my own soul, and the bearer of wonder into the world. So let this scroll be my declaration, my prayer, my vision, my truth. I will rise, I will bloom, and I will walk in the gardens where heaven and earth meet, where I remember who I am. Historically, Babylon, right? Babylon was an ancient city in Mesopotamia. Pardon my hack way of saying it. In what is today Iraq. Specifically, it was located near the modern city of Hilla, about 85 kilometers, 53 miles south of Baghdad. The city sat along the Euphrates River, which provided water for agriculture and trade. The city, or Babylon, was most famous under King Nebuchadnezzar, sorry, the second, 605 to 562 BCE, who built the Hanging Gardens, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, and expanded the city massively. Archaeologically, you can still see ruins like the Ishtar Gate and foundations of temples and walls. Biblically and spiritually, Babylon, though, in the Bible, Babylon often symbolizes opposition to God, corruption or human pride, and decadence. It's mentioned extensively in Genesis, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Daniel, and Revelation, sometimes literally, sometimes symbolically. In a spiritual sense, Babylon can represent systems of power, idolatry, or oppression, not necessarily a physical city. So physically, Babylon is a modern day Iraq near Hilla along the Euphrates. I'm not saying that right. Apologies, so bad. Spiritually, it can exist anywhere that reflects corruption or opposition to God. So, hi, baby Saja. Thank you for your message. So, where was I? Anywho, so yes, there is a spiritual and symbolic resonance there. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and where one of the great wonders of the ancient world, a symbol of divine artistry, abundance, and human ambition. And then there's my dream, which is of the Hanging Gardens in Bali. They seem to echo the same energy of beauty, growth, and sacred wonder, even though geographically it's thousands of miles away. It's like my soul is connecting the ancient wonder of Babylon with the modern earthly manifestation in Bali, a garden of life, peace, and divine inspiration. Now, where am I? My Bible flips. So I'm gonna let's do like a little public worship. Why not? Can we praise God for a moment? The fact that we're alive in this season is no accident. We were chosen to see, to know, and to fight in spirit. Hallelujah. Father God, we thank you for wisdom and discernment. Open our eyes, ears, and hearts to see your work. Protect us from fear and anchor us in truth. In Jesus' name, amen. 1 Kings 11, verse 1 to 12, verse 19. Solomon's heart turned from God due to foreign influences, leading to division. Our decisions today impact spiritual unity. Seek God's guidance to keep your heart aligned with his will. Proverbs 14, verse 5 to 6. An honest witness does not deceive, but a false witness pours out lies. Seek truth and discernment. Integrity matters even when the world distorts facts. Acts 8, verse 14 to 40. Philip shares the gospel with the Ethiopian eunuch. Like Philip, we encounter people seeking truth. Be open to divine appointments. Share faith with love and clarity. Psalm 89, verse 1 to 13. God's faithfulness is unchanging. Jeremiah 35, verse 1 to 19. Obedience honors God and sets a legacy. Amid chaos, God remains faithful. Our choices honor him and influence future generations. Isaiah 43:14 to 45:10. God calls us to trust his plans. And oh, I trust his plans. The worst of the worst can happen, and I say, okay, well, that's just what God had in store. He'll tell me later. I'll know why later. And if I don't, then that's God's will too. Romans 8, verse 9 to 25. Live by the Spirit, not by the flesh. Surrender fears and uncertainties. Allow the Holy Spirit to transform and guide you. Luke 7, verse 36 to 50. Forgiveness flows from love. Forgiveness flows from love. Proverbs 17, verse 22. A cheerful heart is good medicine. Just be kind. Demonstrate love through action. Forgive freely and cultivate joy enough amidst trials. So forgiving is for you, for God, not so much the other person who harmed you or treated you poorly. By holding on to bitterness and not forgiving, you're simply carrying that pain. It's like carnage that you didn't ask for. You had no business holding. So forgiving wholeheartedly doesn't mean you have to accept that person into your life. Forgiving wholeheartedly doesn't mean you have to even speak to that person ever again. But forgiving that person sets you free and keeps you aligned with God. Zechariah 10, verse 1, 11, verse 17. God restores his people. Oh my gosh, does he ever? I started cutting myself at 10 years old. That's when my depression started. I've been writing since I was 10 years old. That was my outlet. That was my passion. When I never took as a career because I didn't want it to ruin my passion. God healed me of every ounce, every fiber of mental illness that held me captive. He healed me. Yes, I went through last January 9th, 2024, I went to Portugal, and for about 2 weeks I received all different kinds of plant medicine. I did iboga, that's the same. I did ayahuasca, bufo, and cambo, as well as mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms, psilocybin, with shamans and guides, and it was a beautiful experience, and it saved my life. But it was God that removed the illness. And I'm not an active drug user. I haven't used any psychedelics since. Sorry, I did mushrooms again, and it was then my second time after I had returned, and that was to seal off one thing that I needed to learn. And what I learned was that it was me, like I got me. And by me having me, it's that God has me. I, one with his self. I called everybody that I had known in my entire phone, sending them literal SOS messages, begging anyone to seek or to respond. Nobody did. And that's, in that moment, the big takeaway for me was that I learned that I had me, that I needed to lean on God within me. That said, God healed me of every ounce of depression, anxiety, and I considered myself to be having stage 4 depression, like as though stage 4 cancer. It was comparable, mental to physical, that's what it was. And I don't even know what it feels like now. That's how much God removed it. That even in the worst situations, which I've been in, probably the worst of situations from January onward of this year. No, I would say like December, even, have been some of the hardest times for me, have been the most difficult to navigate. But that said, I was removed of, it was like magic. I think I'm gonna sneeze. um, I sneezed. Bless me. um, and that for me is like a confirmation from God. I also get these really big tinglies when God is talking to me, or so my relationship with God is unearthly. Like nobody can change that from me. Nobody will ever remove that feeling from me or that certainty. It's one voice in my head that only comes when I need it. When I ask, it's one voice, and it's a male voice, and God can be whatever you want him to be, whatever it could be: cat, dog, table, paperclip, like whatever fits your life. But for me, it's a male figure, and I say even like, I wish I could just pickle some beets with my dad, and I think that comes from me not having any connection or communication with my biological father. So I've held on to God as my steady father, my faithful father. And that gets me through. And my level of faith is how I can be in these most horrific situations and still be smiling, and still be choosing kindness, still be choosing love, even to those that mistreat me. I simply cannot choose hate. I used to, and it wasn't me. I was like, it was as though the devil was camping inside of my body while setting it on fire. This tent that I was in. God heals. You just have to believe. Like, it is absolutely incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I would not be here without God, without my faith that something better is coming. For the past 4 years now, I've been saying to everyone that I knew, everyone that I come across, every great conversation I had, like, I feel something big brewing. Like, something big is brewing. I don't know what it is. And confirmation, I just burped, excuse me. So, but then last October, I was in the mountains in Banff, Alberta. And around September, October, before I came back to Ontario, I had, hi Ella, I had said, oh my gosh, like the big brew, like every few months over the past 3.5, 4 years, I've said, like, I've written the big brew on every notebook I've had. Like, I've been writing about it. I just didn't know what the big brew was. I didn't know what was coming. I just knew something big was coming. Something big, like monumental, like the whole world is going to shake, kind of knowing that something big is brewing. I didn't have a clue what it was. I just knew something was. And I've been saying for years, I am going to save humanity. That is my dream. That is the only thing I'm here for. Like, I can't even say that without getting choked up, because that's how much I believe it. And not because I want to be marked as a hero. I could care less if I was ever faced, like, I just want humanity saved. I don't care who does it, but I know that I'm going to be a part of it. I know that I am now a part of it. And it's beautiful, but I didn't know that until, like, last year, last year is when I really like, I knew my purpose on this earth, the reason that I have these very unearthly gifts that, you know, that are just, they're incredible. I have them for the very reason to save humanity. And it was last year in October, September, October, where I could put a date to it. And I said, I don't know, something like the next 6 to 9 months or so, like by May. So it was like September, October that I said it. And then I was like saying, I don't know, by May, June, July, something big is going to happen. Sure enough, a lot of big freaking things happened in those dates of this year. And it's like rapidly shifting. The earth is rapidly shifting. Like all these plans of all this talk of 2050 and 2030, it's like, no, none of those plans are going to take hold. Big things are going to be happening before this year is up. I know that. I know that. With every fiber of my being, I know that. And it's going to be beautiful for everyone who chooses love. I can't say what it's going to be for those who don't. But it will be as expected, right? If you choose hate, if you choose anger, if you choose to just be grumpy and unkind to people just because you don't like them, or because you're holding on to anger, resentment, bitterness, whatever the case, and jealousy, whatever it is, that's not going to serve you. It doesn't serve you now, and it won't serve you in the near future. And I'm not trying to scare people. I'm trying to like warn people and remind them that choosing love is so much easier. Even if you don't like the person, you don't have to. But choosing hate, it just makes your life worse. Because regardless if you believe or not, karma is a thing. Karma is real. And karmic debt is the same as financial debt. It's 7 years. I've paid mine in full. And that's why I tell everybody to choose love, because I'm like, man, it's not a thing you want to play with. It's terrifying. It sucks. There's nothing good about it. Karmic debt freaking sucks. And if you give up your body, if you just, like, my 3-year-old nephew will ask me for a hug, but if my discernment says no, not today, I won't give a hug. And it's like, it's my body, it's my right, it's my temple. And even just so much as a hug, even so much as someone touching your hair can bring upon energy that is of ill will, or energy that's not kind. It can take energy from you, all kinds of things. You can collect someone else's karmic debt by having intimate relations with someone to which you don't love and they don't love you. Just like those one-offs, they come with binds and ties and chains that you may never even acknowledge. But then you're like, why is my life such crap? Why is my life falling apart? Not even thinking that it was from, this one-off from one night of drinking or whatever the case. One single encounter can cause you an upheaval of pain and horror, really. Like, it's wild. It is wild. Ansel, I don't know how to say your name, but hi. Yeah, like and that's the thing. We've been trained to, like, you're being rude if you don't shake someone's hand. It's like, no, I'm not at all. This is my body. This is my hand. If I don't want someone to touch it, nobody will freaking touch it, period. And that's this big misconception that people have been forced into believing and buying and subscribing to, is that other people have the rights to your body and mind. They absolutely do not. This earth is earth. Like, who decided that anyone gets to run it? who decided that? Like, where did that even, I know where it came from, but I won't get into that right now. But that's wild. And there's, the planet is subscribed to that. And the ones that aren't, they're mistreated and labeled crazy. They're, delinquents, they're rebels, they're degenerates, they're criminals, whatever the case. It's like, well, if they were treated humane, if they had food like all of the ones doing the rule making and all of that business, they wouldn't do any harm. But it's by design to keep people small, keep people struggling, keep the control, keep the fear. When the only fear you should have is the fear of God, because trust me, that's someone you don't want to mess with. And he may not act quickly, but that's because shortcuts are of the devil. Shortcuts, like plants, farmers, local farmers, vegetables and fruit are going to taste a million times better than any supermarket ever could. Every grocery store, every Walmart, every Walgreens, all day long, the fruit and vegetables are going to taste better from your own garden, your neighbor's garden. But those take longer. Why? Because they're not going to use Miracle Grow and all kinds of things to speed up the growth time, which are harmful to our bodies and la la la. So all these fast tracks, these quick ways, shortcuts, they cause for a shorter lifespan. They cause for all kinds of downfall. But sure, you get it right away. But it's like, think of life right now as the devil has been winning because he's been cheating and taking shortcuts and buying people off and this, that, and the other thing for all of time, right? Time created by man, created by the devil, okay? Because time was only created to appease a certain tax bracket. That's why we only have 12 months as well. Meanwhile, if we're going by moons, there should be 13. That's neither here nor there, but that was all created for the highest tax bracket's agenda, which is greed, which is power, which is evil. So then it's as though God now, like earth, love, is all catching up. And it's now come to a head. That's the crossroads that everybody is at right now. Are we going to stay in the spiral of consumption, or are we going to choose love and compassion? But the thing about God is that love always wins. So even though someone may send me like a detour, someone may throw a curve, like a dent in my day, God will come back and then put a beautiful human in my path to compensate that evil that someone tried to do. So it may not be right then, it's like, oh, frig, I got kicked out. But then 3 hours later, I meet this beautiful human and they have a space to rent. And that removes me from a toxic environment. And then guess what? Love wins again. You know what I mean? So while love and God takes longer to answer prayers, it's like you can't just pray today because you're having a bad day and expect God to answer you. No, he's gonna answer the ones that have been steady, faithful first. And it's like as though God has to walk by horse to get to everybody to help them. Whereas the devil's got 30 million jets, drones, and friggin' cyber things all running simultaneously while having 5,000 bajillion minions running evil that all is self-sustainable. Whereas of love, we need gardeners. We need people to care for the food. We need to treat the horse with care and compassion while we walk the miles. We need to stop and feed it. We need to stop and love it. Whereas evil is just like, charge her up. We got a backup battery in the trunk. Like, keep on going. And that's where, like, yep, evil always gets in the lead, but love always wins. And now we're at a massive point because every single thing on this planet in the 3D, the vessels, the items, it's all ran by spirit. It's like a constant, like I say about myself, I feel like my own mind, my vessel is being used directly as a vessel for God. And it's as though God and the devil are like Tom and Jerry. And it's like a video that I saw on Instagram that was of my dream place. My dream home is a treehouse. It's a, a modest but multi-level treehouse that's actually like you can stay in the winter, in the summer, all the months, like it's a home, but it's in a tree or like and really high off the ground. That's my dream. Well, then I seen a video of what would be my dream home, and the videos that were playing on the computer screen and the TV screen in the home were Tom and Jerry, the cat and mouse, like, and it's like little tidbits of little breadcrumbs from God, but then the devil has to come in and like throw a little dig in too. It's that all constantly all around you, and like I'm confident that I can teach many, many people and how to see all of the things that I see and how to see the way that I see. Because once you can, things don't affect you the way that they normally would. Things don't affect you the way that the system has trained you to be affected. And the sooner that everyone, well, it doesn't even matter because God's just going to come in and thunderclap. Like, that's why when I say, like, my throat chakra is being attacked right now, God's just going to make things happen and no one's going to have a choice. It's like, if you've chosen love, you're in. If you haven't, you're going to fall. And, but as of right this moment, there's still a choice. And it's like, I can show people how to hear God and see the signs and understand the symbols and all the things. It's so neat. Like it is so freaking neat. And it's freeing. Like it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I know I have like a type of mind that I am just like a human decoder. I can't look at anything without decoding all of its hidden messages and subliminal meanings and everything. And that's just a gift that I was born with, that MK Ultra tried to muffle, which they did succeed for much of my life. You know, and that's okay. I forgive them because it was all part of God's big plan, which was to hide me among some of the worst and then have this big reveal, which is kind of happening. And like, oh, it's so beautiful. Like, God put me through hell so that I wouldn't be seen and so that I wouldn't come out with the gifts and the knowing that I have prematurely. And when I first kind of came out is when I became like a whistleblower. And it wasn't even like something I was aspiring to do. I joined Threads because, I don't know, I just was led to do it. And I say from God, but take it how you want. So I joined Instagram in November last year to promote my poetry, my writing. That was it, nothing more, nothing less. I hadn't been really on any social media for years prior to that. And like I had just in and out, and then someone would say something unkind and it would throw me off and I would delete the app and that would be that. But yeah, so then I joined Threads and I was on there like one day and I could see all kinds of wild things that nobody else was picking up on. And I just started exposing it for what it was, because it's like, I don't care who you are. You could be the freaking Pope. You could be the government of every freaking state. I don't care who you are. If you're doing something wrong, I'm going to expose it, period. Like, that's a fact. And I ruthlessly did that. every day, all day was like I couldn't not do it. I couldn't, I could not do it. And I wasn't searching for it. I would just open the app and it would be like, like all these things that I would just be like, oh, that's that. That's actually that. Oh, that's messed up. That's that. Um, and I'm like a human lie detector test. So it's like, you can't even try. Like, don't waste your time. These are, and I was always like positioned around people that were like seriously the CEOs of narcissism, the 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 people that held 50 masters in gaslighting strategically so that I wouldn't get my gifts to be known to me. I had always known that there was something different with me. I'd always known things that I was like, I don't know how I know that. And it was always muffled, or I was, told I was crazy, or I was overreacting, or I was too much or too sensitive, or whatever. And then it wasn't until I started, like, my ancestors, God told me to leave, get out of the house. I was staying with my childhood friend um, in Ottawa when I went to Ottawa. And he had been doing some very awful things to me, um, and a part of some awful things. And I was told, leave, get out, go now. So I called my sister, which would have been the last person I'd ever call in a moment, but I also didn't have anyone else, which was by design. They made it so that I wouldn't have anybody, any trustworthy people, any reliable people. A lot of people paid to specifically hurt my heart. People paid to specifically confuse me or cause me pain or this, that, and the other thing. And that's really what happens in this world. And again, this isn't for pity, this is just a fact. So anyways, I left, and what was I saying? Oh, now I'm getting confusion still. One sec. Okay. Oh, these little buggers. So I'm under spiritual attack right now. I'm speaking too much truth that's harming somebody's ego, and the devil's peed off about it. Regardless, I've always known. I saw a man that was by my grandmother's pictures that were around her house. My grandmother that was deemed a witch. Um, she had like Jesus paraphernalia everywhere, and she had a prayer room that was everything but holy. And not from her, but anyways, I was so curious. Like I was so curious, but I didn't grow up religious. I didn't grow up going to church. Like, we dabbled, but it wasn't nothing. I think I just played in Sunday school if I ever did, and it was when I was very young. I didn't know a lick about the Bible or anything biblical, really. I started going to church when my mom became a born again Christian, when I was 10 years old, and like nine and 10. And I only went on Sundays because I was with my dad on the weekend, and I wanted, like, my mom would stop at the coffee shop and I would get a bagel and a hot chocolate. That's why I was going to church. And then I started doing Sunday school. Like, I was teaching Sunday school, but I didn't really know what I was teaching. I liked teaching. I liked playing teacher, I guess. But again, I still didn't have a clue about God. I didn't know anything about that stuff. But I knew God. Like I've said before, like around that time too, I told my dad I wanted to be a nun. And so he took me to a place nearby where they had nuns. And I was like, no, this is not what I want to do. This isn't, nope. Because every version of every story and, everything relating to God, that I had witnessed. So I also, in like grade 7 or 8, I wanted to do theological studies. And then our reverend from the church came over to talk to me about it, and I was like, nope, this isn't for me either. But it's, I realize now with my walk is like that everything we've been taught is so backwards. It's so, there's so much misinformation. And while I heavily rely on, I have it's the 1 Year Bible for Women, an NLT version. It's like this book was written about me. I swear, it's so wild. And like, I'm not gonna swear, but like, um, I understand it differently than other people read it and speak about it. And it's strange to me, but it's still very cool. And it excites me to share this stuff with the world because I think our world could actually be a healthy, loving place. Well, it will be, but if everyone could understand it in a different light. Um, yeah. But when I was 7 years old, so a lot of things happened when I was a kid, but when I was 7, I distinctly remember sitting at my grandmother's house, and I was like one of freaking 15 grandchildren all sitting around a U-shaped couch, and the adults would smoke cigarettes and drink and play cards in the kitchen, and the kids were to be seen, not heard kind of life. And this is a family stemmed from a lot of addictions and like sexual abuse and things like that. It was a pretty dark family, but I know that it all stems from generational curses. So I'm considered the generational curse breaker by far. There's like a long history of all kinds of awful things in the family from generations and generations. So I don't blame the generation that raised me. I mean, everyone has a choice, but I think it's just it stems so much deeper, and nobody's actually healing from the soil. You need to heal more than just the root. You gotta understand the soil. Who's like, what's the environment like? What's the weather like? What's all of the playing parks? What's the water that's watering this tree? Like, all of these things matter more than just the roots. That's the game I'm in. Let's get deeper than the roots. Let's get to the freaking soil and the gardener, you know? And that's where nobody in my family did. But granted, there was no options, no real education, no proper care for any of this stuff. So I don't hold bitterness. I have compassion for them because just like Hitler, he wasn't 3 years old and be like, I'm gonna take over and kill all the Jews. Like, that's not even like, that's not even logical. And I'm not sticking up for him. He did horrible things and was a part of things that are still playing out from him. But at the same time, it's like an infant that, you're not born racist, right? It's who's teaching you these things. And that's where my level of compassion comes. That's the depth that I go is, why are these people behaving this way? It's someone else. It's the generations before and the generations before and la la la. So anyways, I was sitting at the top of the landing. It was a high ranch house, and playing with some toys, and I was the only child out of the grandkids that was allowed to sit at the outside the prayer room at the top of the stairs, adjacent from the kitchen and adjacent from the couch where the other kids were sitting. And I saw Jesus, the pictures that we know as like white whatever people, that Jesus, what he looks like. Okay, I saw him as I'm talking to you right now, directly across from me, but he was not on the ground. He was like 6 steps up, just levitating but standing. And that's when my divine assignment, I call now that I have the language for it, was given to me. And I believe he gave me some gifts then that were continually being tried to dull, like fluoride blocks your third eye. Fluoride's in water, it's in toothpaste and everything, which I don't have any part of anymore. I eat whole. Chips are my weakness. I freaking love chips. Like, I want to slam the whole bag, family size from Costco. Like, I love chips. That's my kryptonite. I could care less about chocolate. It's chips, okay? But I've now resorted to eating plantain chips that are spicy that give the same satisfaction. Even though I will confess right now, I had a bag of salt and vinegar Miss Vickies the other day, which I forgave myself for. But it was like, it is what it is. And so, anyways, I eat clean and I eat whole and I don't eat any meat. The last time I had like 1 tablespoon worth of ground beef, I'm so sensitive spiritually that I literally, after consuming that amount, just that little amount, I had intense flashes. I could feel and see through the eyes of that very cow that I had just eaten. That's how sensitive I am. So from that day forward, I'm like, absolutely will I ever, never, ever, ever, ever eat anything that's from an animal. Because right away I called it trauma meat because it was awful. It was freaking awful. Seeing through the eyes as though I was right there, feeling that pain that like obviously I didn't feel the pain of being butchered, but I could feel the pain. If I can't even describe that. I could feel the pain in their heart, pain and confusion, and it was just very inhumane. And it was in this big, you know, for mass production of, you know, beef. Tons of cows everywhere, but this particular cow had a calf which was still in its vicinity. Okay, I saw all of it. I felt all of it. And that's from eating the beef. And that's why it's like, if I was to ever, which I won't, but if I was to ever eat meat again, it would be like I've seen this animal grow up, essentially, which then I'd end up freaking naming it and like it would have a collar and all kinds of cool stuff. So that's probably not likely because I'm a massive animal lover. But that said, that's the only way that I could eat anything from animals if I know that it's been cared for and loved. And yeah, yeah. So like that's my level of sensitivity. But then yeah, so I saw what we claim as Jesus today in pictures that he was exactly the pictures. I wasn't afraid even. There was no ounce of my body afraid, and I remember it till this day. I've seen Archangel Michael in the flesh. So for me, he was an elder man, and I saw him when I was a young child at a park, and I saw him just last May, April or May. It was the end of April or very beginning of May when I was at the Rideau Park in Ottawa, and he was there, and there was so many undercovers. There was FBI, there was CIA, there was reporters, like all kinds, like journalists, all kinds of people at the park that day, not being labeled or made known that that's who they were, but I knew that that's who was there. And like I said before, there's only a few civilians, like just I call it just sleepwalkers, just people that they're neither here nor there. They just live life. They're just, you know, doing the daily. And he was there that day because there was some plans of bad things to happen that day, and he wasn't gonna have it. And he looks like a grumpy old man when I've seen him, but I believe that, and I've said this before, I believe that he comes in the flesh when it's like really bad, something bad is bad gonna happen. And he looks like a grumpy old man so that people don't approach him and take away his ability to watch me with undivided attention. It's really cool. It's really cool, the level of connection that I have with the spirit realm and other dimensions, other life beings. Like just last night, I had the opportunity to be out in like away from light pollution. And sitting with someone, I told them, like, we were looking up at the stars, and I was like pointing out very simply, like, oh, that's someone from Lemuria. Oh, that's that. Oh, that's that. And it's like, this stuff's just natural for me. I just know it. And I don't even know. It just, God just gave me this knowing, and it's freaking cool. And it's like, I would love people to study me, but not in a inhumane way and not against my will. You know, I'd be more than happy for this to happen, because I think it would just further enhance humanity, and I think it would be beautiful. Though I know a lot that want to study my brain, it's for ill intent or for selfish reasons, but they're not going to, so it's fine. But and that's why I talk so freely, even though it may sound absurd or whatever the case, or whatever. That's fine, because I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to help save humanity. I'm here to help others. Here to help heal. And through my gifts, I know that I can help heal. I can heal a lot of people. You know, and I don't use my spiritual gifts like some call psychic, whatever. I won't use it for my own advantage, and I certainly will never use it for any ill intent. So I won't just tell somebody something because they want to know what their partner's doing, or they want to know if someone took their can out of their cupboard. Like, I won't be a part of that. That was a terrible example, but I can't be bought. That's a fact. I cannot be bought for my spiritual gifts. They are very, like, I honor them with so much, like, it's sacred. It's like, yeah, I could probably freaking win the lottery tomorrow by using my gifts, but I won't, and I clearly haven't, because those who are watching me without my permission, or watching me for investigations of whatever the case, they know that I'm not in the ideal location and environment, and, you know, people that match my energy. If I wanted to use my gifts for my advantage, I would not be here. There would be a lot of things different in this world if I was in the game for using them for any other reason than to help. And yeah, but I know that I can help many, many, many people, and I plan to. And now I've got a weed whacker coming in hot to my window. Yeah, so there's that. And I just remembered that I had thrown some old sticks that I had outside of my window. I was using them to paint, and now I feel like this is going to be put onto me as an evil person for doing that. And I forgot to grab them. Shoot. That's amazing. So I got a sincere apology from my sister, and I believe that, you know, those are answered prayers, and I'm freaking grateful. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that. Thank you. Praise God. Now, I know that narcissism usually comes with love bombing and things like that, but I have full faith that, you know, that's a baby step, and that's a little win for me, because, you know, like, you heard me crying. If you're still here, I don't know, but having my stomach, but having, you know, a sincere apology come to me, that means a lot to me, and it goes a long way. Especially with the level of arguing and screaming and yelling that I that I witnessed and was subjected to this morning, it's like that's a little win, and I'm so grateful to God for having her come to me with an apology that seemed sincere, and I'm grateful. And these are little wins that you have to run with, because that's what keeps you going. That's what keeps you moving in love. And yeah. And now it's 11:30, and because of narcissistic abuse, I have not done what I originally planned, which is what I like to get outside for the morning sun. And while I have the opportunity to be a little bit alone, but I'm grateful for the amount of people that tuned in, and for the amount of people that heard my words. And I pray that everyone who heard my words, they take something from it, or they feel lighter, or they understand something better. Or I pray that whoever tapped in or stayed tuned in, move in love, and I pray that you have a great day. And I pray that something from my message resonated with you in some way. And I pray that something so amazing happens for you today, something you never expected. And yes, I get emotional every time I pray, and that's Spirit working through me, especially when I'm speaking to anyone else. It's my hope that my words are felt and help someone have a better day in some way, or move a little more gently. I pray that everybody that's choosing hate has a little bit of a softer heart today. I pray that everybody that's in pain gets today off, at least. I pray that everybody is greeted with a smile by someone you don't know, or someone that you do, but you're unexpecting of it. I pray that everyone smiles at a stranger today, because you could truly be saving their life. A smile goes a long way, especially when someone's struggling. Especially when someone's struggling. If someone cuts you off today, don't assume they're an a-hole. Assume they have an emergency to tend to, and let them go with grace. Just simply bless and release. Because wishing them a red light for every light after the one that they just cut you off from could result in a child not having their parent there, having their mother not there, having their brother not there. You don't know what your words can do. Words are so powerful. They're so powerful. And I pray that you choose love today. I pray that you think of the best case scenario instead of the worst for every situation that arises. See how that goes. Trust me, if you choose the best case scenario, it's magical what comes from that. It's magical. I pray you have a good day, everybody. The best day. Thank you for listening, whoever was here. Truly, thank you.